Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Andy back again from the underground. Today, we are reviewing a unique piece for my setup, the Voodoo Low Pulley from Darko Lifting. This is an attachment I picked up specifically for my Rogue RM6 monster slinger with a weight stack, and it's built to fit racks with 3x3 inch tubing and 1-inch holes. I actually ordered this piece all the way back on May 4th, 2024, and I finally got it in early August, so it was a bit of a wait. The Voodoo pulley is made here in the USA, and it is very well put together. This thing was very hard to put on my rack at first until I loosened up the bolts, and unfortunately this thing is actually discontinued, so this is a little bit of a limited edition unit now, as Darko decided to stop production on these due to the time and resources it took to make each of the units. He makes a bunch of his stuff in-house. He obviously gets the supplies and the materials to make these things, but he puts these things together himself majority of the time. Let's talk about the specs of this thing. The full specs of the Voodoo will be on his website, as well as the description of this video. The footplate width is 15.2 inches long. The Voodoo weighs 17 pounds overall, and this thing feels really nice in hand, and it feels really high quality. The finish on the Voodoo is like a textured black powder coat. As you can see, there's grip tape on the footplate to keep your feet in place, and the cushions that he uses is probably like a pool noodle wrapped in vinyl. And I forgot to mention the cost. It was $394.25 shipped to my door. I actually opted for no hitch pins or bolts, and I also got plastic pulleys, as I am fine with the plastic pulleys rather than the aluminum. If you are like me and way too deep into this home gym experience, I had a whole bunch of different hitch pins and mag pins just laying around that I could use with my Voodoo, as well as any other things that I needed. Eventually I could probably replace the pulley with an aluminum pulley, but as of right now the plastic pulley works really smooth. And as you can see on the Rogue products for their pulleys, they use a plastic pulley that actually feels really smooth as well, and there's no issues from it from me. And as you can see here, I set up my Voodoo on top of the trolley arm, and I use the trolley arm to place my thresher pad as a seat to use low pulley. One thing I don't like about low pulley systems and like lat towers is that when you do the low row motion, you have to sit on the ground. But obviously with the Voodoo, you don't have to sit on the ground, or you could just you can sit on a bench and then use the foot place as wherever you want to adjust it. But here I'm using the thresher pad, which is a great piece. I have a video on it. If you haven't seen it, it will be linked in the description below. But here I'm switching it into a lat pull down, and I'm using the Voodoo as a leg holder for the lat pull down portion. And as you can see here, it is pretty sturdy in terms of how it stays, so there's not a lot of play with it. And as you can see, I'm sitting on the thresher pad. The thresher pad is on top of a Rogue trolley arm, and I think this setup works pretty well, as it gives you some good distance away from the rack itself. So kind of getting into the uses I was talking about a little bit earlier, as I mainly use the Voodoo as a low row as well as a lat tower leg holder. What I found that I like using it for a lot is bicep curls, which I'll show you later in this video, but those are kind of like the big three movements that I like using the Voodoo pulley for. And honestly, if I was to do it again, I might opt out of buying one just because it is a little bit steep for the usage of it, but at the time there just wasn't a lot of different options out there. I know there are companies like Dialed Motion, and even with Rogue and Rep making their own functional trainer trolley, trolley levers where you can kind of connect a cable to it. It makes it a lot more versatile than having the Voodoo itself. And I'm not saying that the Voodoo is a bad piece overall. I think it's actually a really good piece, and it does the things that it's intended to do very well. However, in the home gym space, everybody wants their one piece or one product to do like a million things, and I kind of have that itch with the Voodoo. I would like it to be a little bit easier to adjust and use it as, say, like turn it into kind of a tool that I can use my slinger as like a single stack, like a prime single stack for. And as you can see, there are companies like Dialed Motion who are making these like functional trainer trolleys that you could probably connect a cable to, like a Rogue Monster Slinger here, like I have, and turn it into a single stack machine. And the big inspiration for me to buy this was that Darko actually has or had the same setup that I did with the Rogue Monster Slinger like weight stack, and so I really wanted to try out the things that he was doing with his Voodoo, and it just sold me on it. And as you can see here, this is the little swivel arm for the Rogue Monster Slinger setup, and I have the wire coming through. This is at the lowest point of the Voodoo, and see here, you could just see me doing some bicep curls. I really like this movement with the Voodoo. It's probably my favorite next to the low row option. And the foot plate is just such a nice touch. You could use it to like brace your foot or however you want to do it. I've seen Darko do like belt squats with his Voodoo. I'm not really interested in using this thing for belt squats, but it's nice that, you know, this thing can actually do that. Anyways, if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. And if you found this video helpful, make sure you drop a like. If you have any questions, comment down below. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.